In the summer of 2020, an Atlanta crowd stood grieving, angry, and highly volatile. They were waiting for a speech. Rapper and activist Killer Mike took the microphone and delivered a brutally blunt first line. "I didn't want to come, and I don't want to be here." We usually assume a speech opening should politely thank the host, introduce a topic, or land a quick joke. By ignoring those conventions, he commanded the room instantly. Over 2,000 years ago, Aristotle observed that in a perfectly rational world, speeches wouldn't even need introductions. You could just state your case. But human audiences arrive tired, distracted, and carrying their own prejudices. To solve for these human limitations, classical thinkers developed the exordium, the opening of a speech. It is a set of psychological tools designed to reorient an audience so they are ready to follow a specific argument. Because human audiences are often unready to listen, these first few seconds function as a strategic entry point, built to manage the room's energy before the speaker even mentions their actual topic. The Roman statesman Cicero refined this theory. He argued that a speaker must choose between two distinct entry strategies, two doors, based entirely on the temperature of the room. The first door is the principium, the direct open. You walk straight in, state your cause, and claim the floor. You only use this when the audience is already friendly or completely neutral. When Joe Biden delivered his 2020 victory speech, he faced a national audience waiting to celebrate election results. He walked out and immediately declared, "The people of this nation have spoken." That is a technically correct principium. But the principium has a limitation. It can feel cold and uninspired because the situation is doing the psychological work rather than the speaker. Then there is the second door, the insinuatio, or the sneak entry. This is built specifically for when an audience is panicked, hostile, or actively resisting you. During her 2020 COVID-19 address, Queen Elizabeth II utilized a quiet insinuatio. Facing a terrified country, she didn't lead with a list of demands. She stepped in softly, naming the specific grief and financial hardship people were feeling, meeting them exactly where they were. Reading the room is mandatory. Applying a direct open to a hostile crowd or sneaking your way into a friendly one breaks trust before you have made a single argument. This matrix shows Cicero's absolute rule for the exordium. Regardless of which door you choose, your opening must accomplish 4 tasks at exactly the same time. You must secure attention, win goodwill, make the audience teachable, and be brief. Brevity is the most dangerous task. The opening borrows the audience's patience entirely on credit. If your introduction drags, you spend that credit before you even reach your main point. A century later, the rhetorician Quintilian added a crucial rule. A structurally perfect opening will still fail if it doesn't match the speaker's specific persona, age, and standing. Consider Trevor Noah. In his 2020 monologue on the Minneapolis protests, he completely ignored Cicero's brevity rule. His opening rambled, filled with long sentences and false starts. But it worked. Noah presented himself as thinking out loud alongside the viewer. That casual, informal drift perfectly matched his established brand, lowering the audience's defenses. Mastering this ancient formula requires authenticity. If an opening feels over-manufactured or delivered by the wrong persona, the audience immediately senses manipulation. Let's look back at Killer Mike through the lens of extreme insinuatio. He secures goodwill not through flattery, but by listing his family of police officers. He disarms an angry room by neutralizing the us versus them narrative before he says another word. He locks in their attention and makes them teachable by invoking the history of the original 8 Black police officers in Atlanta. He anchors their current anger to a much larger historical weight. His blunt admission, "I didn't want to come," serves as a high-stakes empathy tactic. He names the shared discomfort in the air before anyone else can. By utilizing radical honest opening, the ancient Roman theories remain the most potent tools for modern crises. There is one notable exception to these rules. The Greek scholar Menander Rudder focused specifically on ceremonial events like funerals or graduations. In these settings, you aren't trying to win a debate. Your only goal is to explicitly honor the shared moment and foster immediate admiration for the subject. But across all classical thinkers, there is one universal directive: write your opening last. You cannot calculate the temperature of a room or decide which door to walk through until you know the exact shape and stakes of the entire case you plan to argue. Audiences possess a highly tuned radar for generic beginnings. If an introduction sounds like it was memorized from a template, they will stop trusting you before you have hit your first talking point. The most powerful, resonant openings in history don't feel written. They feel discovered in the exact moment they are needed.